Thrive. My name is Terry Warner, and I work for the Division of Developmental Disabilities. I am a positive support consultant lead for the Central Region, which includes Columbia, Jefferson City, Poplar Bluff, and the Rolla regions. I've been training tools of choice since about 2013, I believe. I absolutely love this training. I feel like it's had a dramatic effect on my own personal life for the better. I've really gained a lot of good tips and tricks and tools to use in all my relationships. So this is a universal strategy tool that you can use with anyone. I only wish that I would have known about this when I was raising my own children, because it really has impacted my relationship with my grandchildren, with my peers, with those that I supervise on a daily basis. Pretty much in all my relationships, it has made an impact for the better. So I hope you all enjoy today's training, and we would like your participation today. So as we move forward with the training, we are going to be doing some activities together. And so I encourage participation. There is a possibility that I'm not going to be able to answer all questions because it is a 2-hour training and we have a lot of information to go over and cover. So I may have to parking lot submit some things if you have questions and deal with those things later in the presentation or after the presentation. If you stay on, I can kind of assist you at that time. So thank you for understanding. Okay, so some of the expectations for the course, we do encourage you all to use the chat function. And the chat is on the right-hand side of your screen. It says chat. So if you open it up, if you all will, if you want to try, you can send me a chat. I'm Terry Warner. And you can go ahead and send it to me, and I'll see if everybody knows how to use the chat function. Also, while we're doing that, I do encourage everyone to go ahead and grab out some paper and pen and take some notes. You know, we do encourage you to take lots of notes, and hopefully you'll learn a lot from today's training, and you'll want to take some notes that you can use a little bit later. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the training. We're glad to have you. Sounds like everybody is getting used to the chat box, which is good. Okay, another thing, you know, I've got my cell phone on vibrate, so if you will, just go ahead and put your phones on vibrate, and if you need to step away, we totally understand. Feel free to do so. Because of the training, it's only 2 hours in length. We will not be taking a break today, so we will be moving forward, but I do understand if you need to take a break. Our objectives for today are, we're going to be talking and learning about positive behavior supports. What is positive behavior supports, and why we think it's an absolutely wonderful training and opportunity for you to learn and grow and understanding those universal strategies that helps us all have better relationships with one another. We'll talk about fundamental facts of behavior. And we'll also talk about 4 different types of behavior and what each one of those mean. And we'll give you some examples of each one that we discussed today. We're also going to be spending quite a bit of time talking about what is coercion and punishment, and what are the effects that coercion have on our relationships with one another. Why we should try and avoid coercion and punishment. We'll also be talking about 10 examples of coercion that, again, we all do. Every single one of us in this room today are coercive in some nature, but we try and find ways to minimize the times in which we are and make a plan to prevent those times. So we'll talk about that. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about, let's see, how to improve our interactions with others. So that's what to expect in today's training. Okay, guys. So positive behavior supports. It's all about increasing that quality of life through science of behavior. So tools of choice, which is what you're going to be learning about today is a set of research-based strategies used to increase quality of life and decrease problem behaviors by teaching new skills and making changes in a person's environment. Okay. So the science of behavior or behavior analysis has been investigated, demonstrated through the science of behavior since around the 1940s. So it's been around for a long period of time now. And there's been hundreds of thousands of studies and research done on the effectiveness of positive behavior supports. Okay, so many programs and schools, training curriculums are based on the principles and techniques of using positive behavior supports. So it's an excellent training that I'm just really thrilled to talk about today. Positive behavior supports uses the public health model to structure interventions. And if you will see our triangle, let me see if I can make it a little, zoom out a little bit here. There we go. You see our little triangle down here, the green, yellow, and red. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that triangle means, okay? So the green base, which is the bottom tier of that triangle, represents those universal strategies that we all need in life to be successful. It's those quality of life areas that we need in order to have that good quality of life that we're all looking for, okay? And it's for the entire population. In a healthy population, about 80 to 90% of people will only need these strategies, will only need these supports in order to have that good quality of life, okay? So we all need, and part of Tools of Choice is really talking about how to build those healthy relationships that we all need in life to be successful. We all need to feel that we're valued, we're respected. When we do a good job, we're reinforced for the good deeds that we do, either at work, at home, in our community. And we have a strong natural support system that we can rely on. We have, if we want, we have opportunities to develop community connections within our communities, be a part of church, of, or civic organizations, things that we find important. And that's going to help increase that quality of life. The yellow tier represents that population that are at risk for poor outcomes. Maybe they need a little extra scoop of assistance for different reasons. Some people might need some social skills training, maybe some communication barriers that they may be faced with today, that they may need a little bit of an extra scoop of support. But these interventions are intended to be short term, whereas the green, they're ongoing. They're always present. We always need those things, okay? But the yellow are short-term interventions that hopefully after those things start to improve, then those interventions can be faded as the risk decreases in a health. So in a healthy population, about 10 to 15% of our population are in that yellow category. The red at the top of that tier, that represents those that might be in crisis and they need more intensive support needs. They might need a behavior analyst, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, short term. So again, after the crisis has faded or has decreased and those positive supports are in place and all those good things at the bottom tier are happening now, then the need for those high intense supports will decrease and may no longer be needed. Okay, so that's a little bit about our triangle that I wanted to mention real quick. And the discussion for today, we're going to be talking about that bottom tier, the tier that we all need in our life to have that good quality of life. Okay, so what makes this approach difficult to accept? I think one of the things that, we kind of live in a coercive, negative environment, I mean, you watch the news and it's all about negative and undesirable things, undesirable behaviors that people demonstrate. But through positive behavior supports, we have found in all the research that has been done since the 1940s has shown us that being kind and caring and supportive during good times, during times which people are struggling, they're frustrated, they're sad, they're angry, being kind and caring at all times can really help that person be more successful, feel more valued, feel more supported, feel like they can get through that hard moment with the support from other people that are caring and kind. So you don't have to be mean, you don't have to be punitive in order to help people have more success in this life. And a lot of the times the punitive measures that we once used have been proven to be ineffective. So our goal is to teach people how to be positive, how to be focusing on people's desirable behaviors as much as you can throughout the day. Okay. Because the positive approach has proven to be highly, highly effective in producing change and helping people have that good quality of life that we're all searching for. Okay, so real quick, what I'd like for us to do is using the chat, can you guys tell me what is behavior to you? What is the definition of behavior? Anybody? Throw me some chats. Anybody? So while it's coming in, that green represents the universal strategies. It represents that healthy population. And it's the supports that we all need in our life to have that good quality of life. Okay, how people act or conduct themselves, whether negative or positive. Okay, awesome, Kathy. Thank you for that. Wonderful. Anybody else have an idea of what behavior is? It's actions. Christine said actions that stem from good or bad feelings. Excellent. Wonderful. Anyone else? Any other ideas? Those are really good. Very, very good. Somebody, I've heard behavior is communication. Okay, wonderful, guys. Thank you for that. Okay, so behavior is anything that a person does that can be seen and counted. So it's anything that a behavior that a person does that can be seen and counted. That's behavior. Okay. All right. And we can keep data on it, and as working in this field, we're very data oriented and we like to keep data to see our behaviors improving. Are those undesirable behaviors, are they decreasing? So those are things that we kind of look at. So what I'd like for you guys to do now is in chat, I want you to think of any behaviors that come to your mind, behaviors that you have observed at home, at work, if you work with individuals, with children, what are some behaviors, typical behaviors that you see? And I will write those down as they come in. I'm a little bit delayed in my writing, so bear with us here. But any behaviors, what do you guys think here? What are some behaviors that you see? Yelling out. Okay, yelling out. Good. All right. Okay. Any other behaviors? Singing. Okay. Anger and frustrations due to not wanting to do what is asked. Okay. So, okay. All right. Anything else? Any other behaviors? Hitting. Okay. Hitting, kicking, whining. Those are some, yeah. Anybody else? We'll do maybe 3 or 4 more. You guys can think of any. Throwing things. I hope you are able to see now that I'm putting some things in. Doing dishes is one. Hey, ooh, I got smiling. Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, that's a really good list, guys. You guys, if anybody else wants to put any more, I'll shaking and anger. Okay, shaking and anger. Awesome. Okay. Okay, guys. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a check mark by some of those some behaviors, and I kind of want you to think about the check marks that I'm putting in here and see what they might have in common with one another. Let me know in chat. What do you think? Yelling out, tantrum, anger or frustration due to not wanting to do what is asked, hitting, kicking, whining, shaking in anger. What are all those things have in common? What's your thoughts on those things? Anybody? Yes, yes, Ricky, they're negative behaviors. Absolutely. And in our world today, like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we often focus on those undesirable behaviors that we see all the time. You know, we see it in the news, we see it on social media, TikTok, um, Facebook, Instagram, all those things. All we see and hear about are those negative behaviors. All right. But I want to challenge you today to start looking at all those desirable behaviors that people demonstrate every single day. Because remember the definition of behavior, anything that is seen and counted. So we've got some really wonderful behaviors in here. We've got singing. That's an awesome, desirable behavior. When people sing, it makes them happy, it makes them feel good, it makes other people around them feel good. Doing dishes, doing dishes is a responsible action and that we want and encourage people to demonstrate, right? Smiling is a desirable behavior. So we challenge everyone today to start looking at those opportunities when people all around you at work, at home, in your community are demonstrating those desirable actions, okay? And focus on those, reinforce those when you see them, because it can really make a difference. And that's what positive behavior supports is all about, is focusing on those desirable actions of others. So it's best to talk about behavior as specific actions rather than categories. And we're going to go back to our what we put in just a few seconds ago. But so instead of saying rude, what does rude even mean? Rude may be something different to each one of us in the room based on our own prior histories of seeing people demonstrate rude behavior. Okay. So it's based on our learning histories. It's based on, maybe my upbringing. When I see rude, I think totally different than maybe Kat does. Okay. So we need to specifically define what rude means, break it down into specific actions so we all know what we're referring to. And again, we can keep data on it to see, is that rude behavior, is it decreasing based on what we're trying to do by teaching and encouraging new skills, by teaching respectful and kind behaviors? So is that behavior of rudeness decreasing? But if you just say rude, we may not even know what we're talking about or what we're referencing, what we want to help that person learn how to do. Okay. So let's go back to our list just very briefly. I'm just going to kind of briefly look at this. So now I'm going to put an X mark by some big old categories, and you let me know if you agree. Tantrum. Tantrum's a big old category. It needs to be further broken down. A lot of these are yelling, hitting, kicking. A lot of these things are big old categories that we may need to break down more specifically. I don't know about you, but when I think of tantrum, again, I may think of remembering my 2-year-old having a tantrum by, kind of yelling and screaming, maybe throwing herself down on the ground. Whereas if you thought of somebody demonstrated a tantrum, you could kind of go back to your child when they were a teenager and how they threw a tantrum, or your 8-year-old. So it's based on our own prior histories of remembering what that tantrum looks like. And everybody that throws tantrums, it may look a little bit different than one another. Okay. Same thing with hitting. Hitting is a big old category. Did they hit once, twice? Was it an open hand hit or a closed fist? How did they hit? What was the intensity of that hit? So all of those things need to be broken down into specific actions so we can keep data on it, to better understand, are we improving? Are we assisting that person to improve and demonstrate more desirable actions? Okay. All right. So moving on. Another thing that we're going to be learning a lot about are the 4 universal categories of behavior. Okay. So when we think about behavior, we're going to classify them in 4 ways. And we're going to look at desirable actions of others, which are identified as significant and just okay behaviors. Then we're going to look at undesirable behaviors of other people, and that could be serious or annoying junk. Those are the behaviors that really get under our skin. So let's kind of look at those desirable behaviors. Those are the behaviors that we want to increase, we want to teach, we want to model, and we want to reinforce those when we see those. We want to provide some positive consequences because it's going to improve the quality of life of those individuals. Okay. And so significant are those behaviors that's really going to help that person have success in their relationships with others, at work, at home, at school. And it's really those behaviors that we want to encourage and teach and reinforce. Just okay behaviors, those are behaviors that typically happen on a day-to-day basis, but we often take them for granted. Such as saying thank you or please. Those are behaviors that are typical. We say thank you when somebody passes us something, we say please. We may shut the door, behind us. All right. But boy, when they don't happen, people pay attention to it. So just okay behaviors, we still want to recognize, we want to reinforce occasionally because we want those behaviors to continue in the future. The undesirable behaviors, the serious are those behaviors that are harmful, physically harmful to self or others. There may be some property destruction. They could be against the law. Okay. So those are behaviors that we want to prevent or interrupt. The annoying junk behaviors, those are behaviors that really get under our skin. They happen a lot. They're age typical or functioning level typical, but boy, do they get under our skin. And when they happen, we react to it in lots of different ways. And often, sometimes our reaction to that junk behavior can create a serious outcome. So these are the behaviors that we're going to talk a lot about today, and we categorize them because, again, remember how we want to define them in specific actions? We want to break those things down. So instead of saying respectful behavior, well, that's a great behavior. That's a desirable, significant behavior. But what does respect even look like in different environments, different contexts? So we still have to break those things down into specific actions. Okay, so remember, whether a behavior is desirable or undesirable often depends on context in which the behavior occurs. So I'm going to give you an example here. Let's say that yelling. When could yelling be a significant behavior? When could yelling be a good, desirable action of somebody? Yelling. What do you guys think? When could yelling be a significant, desirable behavior? We had it on our list earlier. When something's on fire, Christine said. Absolutely, Christine. When something's on fire, yelling out, there's a fire, help, help. That's significant because that is going to hopefully increase safety, hopefully reduce the opportunity of the fire spreading. So that's significant, all right? When would it just be okay to yell? When's a good time? Yeah, when someone does something good or to encourage, like in a sporting event. Okay, just okay. Yeah, okay. Just okay. When's another good time that yelling could be okay? Just okay. Remember, it's typical. It happens a lot. Just okay behaviors. Anybody? What about yeah, kids running in the street yelling. Yeah, that's just okay. Absolutely. Kids running in the street, kind of yelling back and forth at each other, passing a ball, maybe passing, throwing or kicking a ball together. What about junk behavior? When is yelling junk behavior? It gets under our skin. It happens a lot, but it's just junk behavior. So we're going to try not to pay a lot of attention to it. Junk behavior, yelling. When is it junk? What about yelling when you stub your toe? Oh man, freaking toe hurts. I can't believe I hit my toe again. Kind of real loud, but I'm not hurting anybody. It's junk. I might get a little bit heightened. Yeah. When you're at a sporting event and someone is yelling negatively at the refs, that's junk behavior, Christine. It's kind of, it's not the best thing, but we shouldn't, the more that we pay attention to it, the more that person's going to probably continue, but we're going to try and avoid reacting to it. Okay. Absolutely. When parents in a crowd yelling at a coach, okay, yeah, junk behavior. Absolutely, guys. When could that yelling turn into serious, though? What about when would yelling be serious? What do you guys think? Because it can go verbally threatening others, okay, right? Verbally threatening a police officer. Oh my goodness, if you yelled at a police officer, that may be serious consequences. You might be taken to jail, okay? So there are certain circumstances where that yelling starts out as junk, but it depends on the context, who you're yelling at, where it could turn into a very serious situation, okay? So you guys did an amazing job here. Excellent. Thank you for all your participation. So again, guys, those significant desirable behaviors are those behaviors we want to spend the focus of our energy and time on. We want to recognize those times in which people are demonstrating these desirable behaviors because, again, it's going to improve their quality of life and those around them. So these are the behaviors we want to increase. We want to teach. We want to model. We want to model these behaviors. And we want to reinforce them when they're happening, provide those positive consequences that's going to motivate that person to continue those behaviors in the future. Okay. So we want to spend a lot of time on these. So for instance, a significant desirable behavior could be when a person is whispering in a movie theater. That's significant, right? Because we're not bothering anybody. We're really whispering to our shoulder partner and people aren't able to hear us and they're still able to enjoy the movie. What are some other significant desirable behaviors that you guys can think of that's going to help improve that quality of life of the person that you know or you're working with? What do you guys think? Significant desirable behaviors. I can think of another one while you guys are thinking about it, but what about filling out a job application? You're wanting to get a job, you're wanting to maybe promote to a higher paying position. So you fill out an application, you complete your resume, you get an interview, and you come to the interview well prepared, organized, and looking pretty spiffy. That's a significant desirable behavior that's going to improve my chances of getting that raise or that employment opportunity. Okay, complimenting in the correct manner. Okay, very good, excellent. All right. So do you guys have a good understanding of what is significant desirable behaviors? Those are the behaviors that, again, we want to spend the focus of our time on and our energy in recognizing those times in which people are demonstrating these skills or finding ways to teach those skills that's going to improve their quality of life. Just okay behaviors, again, those are behaviors that are common that we often overlook because they happen on a frequent basis, and it's something that we just don't pay attention to because they happen so frequently. But again, I encourage all of you to pay attention to them, to recognize them, and to say something positively about them when you see them. Thank you for being so respectful. every time we eat together, you're so kind and respectful by always saying please and thank you, and always asking if I want seconds before you go to get additional off the menu. So I really appreciate that respectful, kind behavior that you demonstrate. Okay, you don't have to do it all the time, but occasionally it's really good to do. Open a door for someone. It happens a lot. It's just okay, but we want to encourage that behavior to continue. Okay, all right. Excellent, guys. What are some other just okay behaviors besides opening a door? Can anybody think of any? What about sitting quietly, watching TV? That's a just okay behavior. Taking turns in a game, that could be a just okay behavior for many of us. But for some that really have a hard time taking turns, that can be a significant desirable behavior that we want to teach, model, and reinforce. Okay, because just okay behaviors for some of us may be significant desirable for others, depending on context, because some people might struggle with taking turns in a game. So that behavior we want to teach and model and reinforce much more than maybe some other people. Okay. Oh, annoying junk behaviors. So again, these are the behaviors that we spend a lot of our time focusing on, and we try and prevent them from happening. But often what happens is they increase because the attention that we are providing to that junk behavior. Okay. So they're annoying, they get under our skin, they're age typical, functioning level typical. But uh, but but they're not harmful to self or others or property. Can anybody else give me a definition of what junk behavior means to you guys? Anything? What do you guys think? I think I kind of went over all of it, but okay, we'll move on. Okay, so the definition of junk behavior is it's behavior that is undesirable. It's annoying. It can be very annoying, especially if we encounter one of our pet peeves. Mine is burping. If people burp at the lunch table, I kind of have to really make a plan not to react to that burping. Okay. But it's not harmful to self, others, or property, and it's not illegal. But again, it's often our response, whether it's our facial expressions, our body language, our tone of voice, or shaking of our head, or rolling of our eyes, or saying, you need to stop burping. That's disgusting. You're just gross. Well, that direct response will often create a worsening between me and that person that just burped. And that person may become very angry with me and may demonstrate junk, but it may lead to some serious altercation or actions from that person. Okay. So those are things that we kind of need to think about. So some junk behaviors. Burping is a junk behavior. Yelling, we already said yelling was. If you go back to our list before, we had a lot of junk behaviors in there. I don't know if you guys remember those, but oh, Christine said blowing nose at a dinner table. That's junk behavior, right? Yeah, we don't like people blowing their nose at the dinner table or picking their nose. That's even worse. What are some other junk behaviors that you typically see on a routine basis? What do you guys think? What are some junk behaviors? What about spitting? Is spitting a junk behavior? I think so. Yeah, spitting. What about cursing? Is that junk? And again, you got to look at context, but for the most part, cussing is junk behavior. Is it harmful to self or others? No. Is it illegal? No. Is it destroying property? No. Okay, so it does meet our criteria of junk behavior. But a lot of people don't like cussing, and so they react to it, and sometimes very strongly. Okay. Drinking from the milk jug. Oh, Joe, yes, yes. My 16-year-old does that all the time. So I really have to make a plan not to react to that and instead during teachable moments, teach my son how to drink from a glass more respectfully. Good one. Love that one. Okay, here's some examples of some additional junk behaviors: cursing, threatening, slamming doors, screaming, name calling, saying mean things, whining. Oh, goodness, whining. Why can't I go to the store? Why won't you let me? Why can't I get that toy? Why? Repetitive questions is junk behavior. What about not going to work or not being respectful? What does that even mean? Not doing something really isn't a behavior, okay? So again, when we think of not being respectful, what we want to do is we want to focus on breaking that down into specific actions. What does it look like to demonstrate disrespectful behaviors in different contexts? What does it look like to be disrespectful at school, at home, in the community? While you're in line waiting for something, what does it look like? Better define it, be more specific as to what you're looking at and referencing, because not doing something is not a behavior. Okay, so we have to be very specific as to what we're looking at. So guys, why do people do junk behaviors? What's up with that? Why do people do them? Why do we do junk behavior? Because I guarantee it, every one of us at some point or another have demonstrated junk behaviors. Sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it. So why do we do it? Why do we curse at other people? Why do we complain? Why do we slam doors? Absolutely, Ricky, for attention. Very good. It's attention seeking. And sometimes negative attention is better than no attention. Some people feel like they don't get any attention at all unless it's negative, unless their parent or others are griping at them or complaining or criticizing them. Joe says to show frustration. Absolutely, Joe, to show frustration. It could be for you to comfort them. What about that? Oh, Christine, I love that one. A learned trait from natural upbringing. We learn it from others. A direct result from watching others. Absolutely. Okay. So if our parents are those that we've been around, exposed to throughout our childhood, use that type of junk, we're probably going to do it too. And then it's going to turn into kind of a habitual reaction from us. So it's going to be a learned habitual response that we often use. Okay, what about to make a person go away or to escape or avoid a task or a responsibility? If I whine enough, I'm not going to have to do my chores. If I whine enough, I want that candy bar, I want that candy bar, and I keep throwing that tantrum, mom's going to give in. I've been taught that. History has shown me the more I whine, the more mom gives in. So I'm going to keep that whining up because it's gotten me what I want. Okay. So people demonstrate junk behavior for a variety of reasons. Okay, so undesirable behavior is not junk behavior when the behavior causes or could cause physical damage to self, others, property, and it's illegal. Okay, so we had some of those things on our list in the beginning. We had hitting with force, we had kicking, we had I think we may have had stealing, I'm not sure. The banging head with force, throwing a chair, that's property destruction. So there was a lot of junk behavior that we mentioned, or not junk, but serious behavior that we mentioned earlier. Okay. And so what do we do when we see that serious behavior? What do you guys think? These are behaviors that we want to prevent from happening to begin with. We want to to redirect, okay, interrupt, behaviors that we want to interrupt, okay. And sometimes it's helpful, guys, if we have a safety crisis plan in place. With those individuals that we work with that have higher support needs, it's very, very important that you have more preventative services in place. You're more proactive, and we have a tool that we call Stay Close Hot, that if you use this tool, we hopefully the majority of times will prevent that serious behavior from happening, but not always, not always. That's when you have to go into your crisis management techniques and your safety crisis planning strategies that you have learned. So I encourage you all to get out your phones right now. And this is a QR code. It's going to take you to our safety crisis planning webinars and trainings and templates, all about safety crisis planning. I was a MANT trainer for many, many years, before we stopped training it as a division. But that's another physical management training that many of our providers or school personnel have had and can use if it's necessary. Okay, but the safety crisis planning is a great tool for you guys to become more accustomed to. This is also a wonderful resource that I encourage you to get out your phone again and take a picture of this QR code. It's 988 and it's a helpline for crisis situations. So I encourage you to check that out as well. Okay, so again, just very quick, we have our 4 categories of behavior that we talked about. We had our significant and our just okay. Again, these are the behaviors that I encourage you all to start focusing on, pay attention to, reinforce those times when you see your child, parent, or significant other, peer, if you supervise people, pay attention to these things. Recognize it, reinforce it, provide positive consequences when they're happening. Find teachable moments to teach those skills that's going to improve that quality of life. And instead of trying to stamp out those undesirable behaviors, the more we focus on over here, the more we're going to see them, the more they're going to increase, and the more these are going to decrease. Okay? Because our time and our energy are now focused on teaching, modeling, reinforcing the desired behaviors that's going to improve that quality of life. And we're going to lessen these as much as we possibly can. Okay? But we're also going to know that it takes time to change behavior. It doesn't happen overnight. So we're still going to have to, really look at those preventative strategies, really look at those safety crisis plans, really recognize those times in which we react to people's junk behavior by facial expressions, body language, and all those things. And I'm going to talk about a pivot tool that's going to help us with this junk behavior by not reacting to it here in a little bit. So that's coming. So we do have a tool for this one. We also have many things that you can put into place for this one. But again, our focus is over here. This is what we're going to spend our energy on. Okay, so moving on, you've got some examples of significant in a little bit more detail, some just okay, some junk behaviors that are typical, and the serious. All right, so fundamental facts about behavior. Let's kind of talk about that. This is kind of the bread and butter of tools of choice and some really good fundamental facts that can be challenging to understand, but they're very, very important in positive behavior supports. Okay, so the first one is behavior is always right given the person's environment history. So this basically what this really means is we would probably behave in the same way given a particular environment and history. So we must make efforts to understand that that person, they're not willingly, trying to do something negative or bad or wrong. It's based on their history. It's based on what they know, what they grew up with, their learning history, their genetics, their physiology, what their exposure was, things affect the behavior, the outcome. All right. A lot of our individuals that we personally work with have pretty significant trauma histories that affect their behavior today, in different circumstances. If you go in knock on somebody's door in the morning at 6 a.m. To maybe, say, hey, your breakfast is ready or your medication's waiting. Are you ready to get up? And they start to yell, scream, or react negatively, it could be their trauma history. It could be that maybe they're a victim of abuse of some nature. And when mom or dad came in at 6 a.m. in the morning, it brought back those bad memories and they reacted as such. So we need to really kind of think about as people's histories. But it's not just people's histories, it's also, context. So the way I act or react around my friends is different than the way I act when I'm with my peers at work. Okay. So context is important. Um, so your home versus work, or if you're around your peers versus your people at work, it differs. We act a little bit differently in different circumstances and different environments. Another thing that I think of when I think about this fundamental fact is we have a lot of individuals who have sensory challenges, and sometimes noise, sometimes crowds, sometimes touch, or can be very adversive. And people say, well, that behavior came out of nowhere, when it didn't. It was something sensory. It was a sensory overload, or something within that environment that created a worsening for that person. Okay. And so there's a lot of things that we may not be totally aware of that's affecting that person's behavior and that outcome. So we want to be more sensitive. We want to be more empathetic and understanding that there's a reason for everything that we do in life. Okay. We just got to figure out what those things are. And oftentimes it takes a change in our behavior to change the environment. Okay. So we got to also look at us and how we're reacting to different things. So most importantly, I keep mentioning this, but we want to focus on the desired behaviors. We want to teach and model those desired actions. So we want to change our focus and help that person have more success in the environments in which they're in. So if they're adversive to noise or crowds, we want to limit noise and crowds within their environment to help them, or help them use headphones when they become overwhelmed. So there's a lot of things that we can do to support that person in being more successful. Okay, this is another fundamental fact, and it's called consequences. When you think of consequences, what does that mean to you guys? What do you guys think? Consequences. Do you feel like that's kind of negative? When I used to hear the word consequences, I always thought, well, that's negative. That's something bad. But it's not. A consequence is just anything that occurs after a behavior, anything. And it can either strengthen the behavior in the future, or it can weaken it. The only way you're going to know the effect of a consequence is by what happens to the behavior in the future. Okay. So, that's a big one. So what I want you all to think about is determine the consequences a person will work to obtain that's going to be improvement in their life. Okay. And arrange for that thing to happen. All right. And hopefully within time, that desired behavior that's going to help improve that quality of life of that person and others around them is going to be more likely to occur. All right. Okay. So, and then you're just going to observe and see, is the behavior, the desirable behavior, is it increasing? And that's what you want to see. All right. Okay. Also, another fundamental fact is it takes time for changes in the environment to change behavior. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes some of the individuals we work with, they've demonstrated these undesirable behaviors for a long period of time because it's got their needs met. It's worked for them. It's gotten them out of things that they don't wish to do, like their daily hygiene or their chores or going to work or school. If I whine enough, if I yell enough, I don't have to do these things. It gets me out of things. Okay. But we need to start teaching and reinforcing those desired behaviors that's going to help improve their quality of life and give them the tools that's going to help them be more successful. So instead of hitting, what can I teach that person to do that's going to, be more effective? Using my voice, learning some self-calming techniques when I get angry, instead of hitting others, maybe hitting a punching bag or, coloring or drawing or deep breathing, all those things can be quite effective. All right. So some of the things that you're going to need to do when you're looking at helping a person learn alternative behaviors and changing things is be patient, be consistent, wait a couple weeks to see if you're seeing improvement, and take data. Data is what's really important because that's the only way we're going to know, are those desired behaviors happening more frequency? And are those undesired behaviors decreasing in intensity and frequency and duration? So taking data is going to let us know, are our efforts paying off? Are we making an impact? Number 4 is past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior, all things being equal. So again, remember past experiences. If it didn't work the last time, we want to change our strategy, mix things up a little bit, kind of pay attention to how we're reacting to some of that junk behavior or that undesired behavior that people are demonstrating. And maybe we don't even recognize that our facial expressions or our body language is very coercive. So we need to change what we're doing. Okay. We also need to anticipate problems and prevent them from happening. So we really need to anticipate what's typical for that person and what can I do to prevent it from happening. So if I know my 2-year-old, she's learned if she throws that temper tantrum in Walmart and I give in because it's so embarrassing, so every time we go to Walmart, she throws a temper tantrum, I give in, I give her that candy bar. This time I anticipate that problem and I'm going to prevent it. So I'm going to come up with a plan. And I'm going to use a tool what we call a set expectations. Okay. That tool, I'm going to say, Jamie, we're only going to get the things on our list today when we go to Walmart, and I want you to hold on to mommy's cart. If we do those 2 things, then when we check out at Walmart, you can pick out 1 thing. But if you choose not to, then we're not going to get that 1 thing at the checkout lane. Okay. So if she throws a temper tantrum at some point in Walmart, I'm not going to give her that thing. I'm going to say, you know what? Next time, I believe you're going to be able to do these things, okay? But this time, we're going to go home and we're going to have a great day, okay? So it's earn or don't earn. So if she didn't throw that temper tantrum, then she would earn that candy bar. But if she chose not to and she threw a temper tantrum, I would stick to my guns and I would leave the store, okay? So that's how I'm anticipating problems and I'm going to prevent them from happening. Okay. Number 5, giving negative, coercive, punishing consequences typically results in many, many, many more problems, including undesirable behaviors. Okay. So again, we're changing our focus here, and our focus is on teaching, modeling, and reinforcing the desired behaviors that we want to see more of. Okay, so we're gonna really understand that giving punishing consequences affects our relationships with the person, and when they see us walk in the room, they may avoid us or escape being around us because of all those coercive interactions we've had with them in the past, and they often learn coercive techniques from us, so they start to demonstrate them. Okay, so instead, we're going to start teaching those desirable skills. It's going to help them have more success in life. In the long run, behavior responds better to positive consequences. Again, we've had all this research, thousands and thousands of research done on positive behavior supports, and it works. It absolutely works. And it's much, much more effective. Okay. Have you all ever had a boss that was punitive in nature, and anytime you were called into the office, you were scared to death because you knew you were in trouble, you knew you were going to get this huge lecture, you knew that something horrible was about to happen, and your relationship with that person wasn't good? Anybody? Can anybody recall a situation where you've had that boss in your life? Yes, Christine said. And it really affected, you probably hated coming to work. Yes, it gave you so much anxiety. Absolutely. Your work was affected. That professional work environment was not there. You wanted to get out of work. You were sick, you know, maybe you were sick more. You did everything you could to find another job. It just wasn't a great experience, and you didn't learn anything. That anxiety was so high, it affected learning. It affected your growth. It affected your self-esteem. It affected everything about you. But if you ever had a boss that was empathetic, encouraging, model the behaviors that's going to help you be successful in your job, you know, those are the employers that, you know, maintain a positive work environment, an environment where you want to come to work each day. You feel respected, you feel valued, you feel like you have the tools to do a good job because they're helping you get there. So when you go into their office, they're helpful, they're kind. And that is where we want to teach everybody to be, is helpful, kind, encouraging, empathetic, supportive in all situations, even during those rough moments when people are having, because it can really make a difference and impact. So a universal positive approach sets the foundation for all interventions. So to effectively change behavior, again, you've heard this so many times today, but we're going to always find ways to teach, find, and pay more attention to desirable behaviors. So that is our key giveaway today is after you leave today's training, you find some opportunities to find those times in which your children, your grandchildren, your peers, or your people that you supervise are demonstrating those desirable actions, and reinforce them, provide that positive consequence, you know, let them know what a good job they're doing, build on those things. Okay, so what are target behaviors, guys? Anybody? Yeah, they're just behaviors we want to teach and increase and replace. Those are the behaviors, again, that we want to spend much more time on and focus on. But you know what we tend to do is we tend to focus down here on the weaken and decrease undesirable behaviors, okay? But again, these two up here are the ones that positive behavior supports and are, you know, tools of choice training that you're learning about today. These are the behaviors that we're going to spend time on and focus on and find opportunities throughout the day to model those behaviors. Okay, instead of modeling the behaviors we don't want people to see, like if we don't want people to yell and scream and whine, then we're going to have to kind of watch how we're reacting to different things. Okay, instead, we're going to be modeling those desired actions that we want to see from others around us. Okay, and when that happens, when we spend more time up here, we are definitely going to see an increase in desirable behaviors. But again, it's going to take time. And you got to keep data to see, is it working? Because small changes are going to happen, but you may be so close to it, you may not even see it. Motivating desirable behavior. Again, we're going to spend a lot more time, you know, trying to find times and providing those positive consequences when people demonstrate those desired outcomes. So even little things like they may not have totally cleaned their room like you want them to, but they made an effort. It's better than what it was. So concentrate on those small achievements, those small improvements, instead of going in there and complaining about what they didn't do. Reinforce the things that they did do. Okay. So we're going to minimize those undesirable behaviors. We're going to minimize and focus on this up here. Okay. And then associating performing desirable behaviors with the big improvements. So if I learn to, you know, be responsible by cleaning my room, my home each day, and I, you know, do the things that my parent wants me to do, like mow the lawn, clean my room, take the trash out, get up and get ready for school or work every day independently, you know, then that should help those around me understand that those responsible actions that I'm demonstrating, they deserve big improvements in my life. So if I'm a teenager, I should be able to maybe have more responsibilities provided to me, or have more independence because of those desired behaviors that I am demonstrating. So a positive outcome should follow those positive behaviors that I'm demonstrating. At work, maybe a promotion is in line for me if I continue to demonstrate, the roles and responsibilities of my job, and I'm responsible, respectful, and get my work done in a timely manner. Maybe there's a payoff. Maybe there's a big improvement coming my way. Okay, so again, our focus is not going to be on the undesirable behaviors. Instead, we're going to focus on the desirable behaviors we want people to do. Changing anyone's behavior will likely change our focus. Again, I would encourage you, maybe put like 20 pennies in your right pocket, and every day try and find opportunities to reinforce those desired behaviors that people are demonstrating every day. And when you see something, put that 1 penny and put it in your left. At the end of the day, how many pennies did you end up with? So focus more. It's going to take a lot of effort on our end because society, everything around us is negative. It's all our focus. That's what we tend to go to. So again, it's going to change our focus, and we're going to have to be deliberate to start focusing on these things. Look for improvement, not perfection. And above all, be patient, because it does take time. Behavior doesn't happen overnight. I don't know about you all, but, when I started to go back to the gym, it took time. It took about 30 days for me to be consistent and move forward with it, because I kept kind of slipping back to my old behavioral ways. So all people are the same way. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes, commitment. Okay, now we're going to talk about coercion. Coercion. What in the world is coercion? Anybody? Anybody want to give me a definition of what coercion is and its effects? It's something we all do. I am coercive at times. I admit it. We live in a very coercive society. I keep mentioning that. So we're all coercive. But coercion is a person-delivered punishment, a worsening, such as a threat, humiliation, a put down that results in poor relationships and undesirable behaviors. Okay. But we live in a very, very coercive environment. Can you guys think of any ways in which we live in a coercive environment? If you think about our prison system, our juvenile justice system, it's very coercive, and our recidivism rate, can't say that word right now, is like 70%. So people that have been in prison or the juvenile system, 70% of those people end up going right back into the system. So something's not working. Our punitive measures, our punitive way of dealing with undesired behaviors is not being effective. Society has proven this to us over and over again. Can anybody else think of anything else where, we use coercion as a way to punish people? What about some of her? Okay, yeah, absolutely, Christine. When you go into the military, some use coercion to break them down and then reinvent the soldier. Yes. Oh my goodness, yes. That's a huge one right there. I've got a lot of military in my family, and I love our military. I support them 100%. But yes, very much so. My dad and I were just talking about that not too long ago, his 12 weeks of oh, what is that? I can't remember what they call it. But anyway, he just said it was horrible the way he was treated. Absolutely horrendous the way they put him down. And basic training. There you go, Christine. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Had a moment there. But yes, and it made him angry. It really did. It made him very angry and frustrated, and just his self-esteem was affected. So I don't know. I don't know, if they're still doing it the way they used to, but it had a negative effect on his life for sure, because he still talks about it. Okay. All right. Anything else besides basic training, our criminal justice system? There's just even some of our school systems, are use the punitive measures today. A lot of them are using positive behavior supports, which is highly effective. And there's so much data out there to support the school systems that have gone through positive behavior support training. They're seeing that their school dropout rate has decreased substantially. They're seeing that their office referrals have decreased substantially since they've been teaching and modeling these social skills like they would a math class. They're teaching respect, they're teaching responsible actions, so all of those things. Yes. Any sports suspensions for attendance issues? Right, Kathy. Very, very good. So, guys, we're all coercive, and I'm going to be talking a lot about the different types of coercion. The bottom line is we're all coercive. We live in a very coercive society today. We just got to understand that it does affect our relationships with others, and it doesn't teach the behaviors that we want people to demonstrate that's going to improve their quality of life. Okay. So instead of trying to stamp out that undesirable behavior by using those punitive models or approaches, we're going to encourage you to use the model of, whenever possible, model the behavior you want to see, teach it, find creative ways to teach it, and reinforce it. Okay, those are the things that's going to improve change, improve your relationships, and make people want to be around you more, which is also going to improve that opportunity to teach those skills. People aren't going to want to learn from you if you're coercive in your techniques. They're going to want to avoid you. Okay, so discipline, man, I remember when I heard this word discipline back in the day when I was growing up. I thought it was bad and ugly and nasty and I'm in trouble. But discipline with positive behavior supports, it's just all about, that desired outcome of modeling, teaching, and motivating the person to be interested in doing desirable behaviors across all different situations. Okay, so that's discipline. And again, in our school system in the state of Missouri, a lot of our school systems are going towards that positive behavior support curriculum. And this is what they're doing. They're teaching those social skills that children need in life to be successful. And again, it's quite effective. Okay, here are the examples of coercion. We have many more types of coercion out there, but we're not going to have time to talk about all of them. So we're going to mention a few. And I want you guys to I want you to help me here in chat. And again, we all do this. Every single one of us have used probably every one of these types of coercion. But over the years, since I've been a tools trainer, I promise you, I can guarantee you, I am much less coercive in all my interactions with others than I was before 2012, 2013. So what I've had to do is I've had to make a plan to prevent those times in which I'm more likely to be coercive. Okay. I know that lecturing is my go-to. But I also know that when I'm tired or if somebody's been coercive towards me, I'm more likely to be coercive towards others. So I have to make a plan to prevent not reacting with coercion. All right. And I use the pivot tool, which I'll be talking a lot about here in a minute. A lot. It's one of my favorite tools. Okay. So when we talk about this, understand we're all coercive. Okay, so don't feel bad if I mention some of these things and you say, well, that's my go-to. That's what I do all the time. You know what? So did I. And I still do. I just try not to. I try and really prevent it from happening. But I'm not perfect, and neither is anybody else in this world. So questioning, oh my goodness, questioning, guys. And it's not like, how you doing today? It's not that. It's questioning when you don't want a real answer, or it's kind of a negative tone, or it's sarcastic in tone, or your facial expressions, your body language are kind of negative, and it's not pleasant. It's like, how many times have I told you not to do that? Why are you doing this? What is going on? Why are you always late? Why are you always late for school? Why can't you ever do the dishes? Questioning. Can you guys think of anything that you do to question others that's kind of negative in tone? And it's kind of that put down. Sometimes though, guys, it's because you're worried, you're scared, you want that person to be successful. So you don't mean it to be mean, you don't mean it to be hurtful, but it can be, and it can affect your relationship. Christine, I love yours. Why can't you be more like your sister? Oh my goodness, comparing siblings. Wow. You know what? That, what do you think? And we've all done that, Christine. I know I have. But what do you think the outcome of that is? You know, do you think that that person feels better, or is their self-esteem taking a knock? Do you feel like it's going to change their behavior positively? Is it going to make your relationship with that person a little better? I don't know. Okay. Now, yeah, it can cause resentment. It could cause hurt feelings. It could cause that person to feel like they're not good enough. They'll never be good enough as their sister. Okay. So all those things can have that outcome effect. Thank you, Christine. I appreciate that. Arguing. Arguing, it takes two to argue, right? Mm-hmm. Are you arguing with me? Don't argue with me. And both parties kind of lose. I mean, they come away with the situation kind of, not feeling real good, feeling kind of hurt or disgruntled, and it doesn't make that relationship better. And in fact, it makes it kind of, ooh, man, I was having a great day, and then I had this argument over the stupid dishes, and now I feel horrible. And I know my husband does too. So we both feel bad, and we could have had a great evening. So arguing, it's often coercive. Okay. And maybe if all we do is argue, it could affect the outcome of our relationship in the future. So, anybody have anything to say about arguing? We all do it. We just got to try and prevent it from happening as much as we possibly can. Sarcasm, teasing. Let me know. How many of you guys like a little sarcasm? You use it. It's your go-to. Anybody? Sarcasm. Yep. Joe. Yep. Yep. Okay. My brother, he loves sarcasm. And I think most of the time it's funny. But sometimes, Joe, sometimes it has that little sting to it that I'm like, oh man, did you go a little too far? Man, that was a little hurtful. That was a little unkind. I don't know. I don't know about that, because it can have that little sting to it. So you say the opposite of what you mean, or make fun of someone, either maliciously and most of the time it's playfully, though, guys, but it still has that sting. And it depends on the person in your relationship. Remember, context. Context is huge here. You might have a lot of sarcasm conversations with your friends, your peers. You're both sarcastic to one another, and it works. But other people, a lot of people I work with personally, guys, in my field, I work with people who have intellectual developmental disabilities, and sometimes they're more literal thinkers or more black and white, and they don't understand sarcasm. If I said to them, "Boy, you're not the smartest crayon in the book, are you?" or in the box, they may not know what that's kind of hurtful. They may not understand what that means, though. And it can really affect my relationship with them. So I got to be careful there. Force, verbal, physical aggression, sometimes both. It can have a detrimental effect on our relationship with others. And we often teach people those things that we really don't want them to do because it's going to affect their quality of life. So if we use physical force, they may learn to use physical force with others. Or, if we do a lot of screaming and yelling and cursing, they may pick up that behavior from us and do it in their own world, in their own relationships with others. But we've all been verbally, we've all used verbal force, and some of our parents use some physical discipline techniques on us. But you know what? Most of our parents outweighed. They may have used some of these techniques, but boy, were they supportive most of the time. So they had a high rate of positive, desirable interactions with us that outweighed some of those coercive interactions. But sometimes in a lot of the populations that we work with, all people have ever been faced with are those negative, coercive interactions. That's all they've ever known, and been exposed to. So we do want to try and minimize all these things when they occur and make a plan to prevent them as much as we can. Threats. How many of you guys have used threats? I know I have. If you don't put your seatbelt on, I'm not going to take you to Walmart. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. And then what do I do as a grandma? I go to Walmart the next day with my grandchild. They're empty threats, right? How many of you guys have done it? Christine's guilty. Yeah, there you go, Christine. If you don't do your homework, you're not going to the mall this weekend. Well, I want to go to the mall too. So you give in. You take your child to the mall. What do they learn from all those empty threats? What do we do? We all do it. They learn our threats don't mean nothing. There's no follow through, and again, it creates that negative vibe between us and that person, it doesn't improve that relationship at that moment. It doesn't make it a good quality interaction. It just becomes negative and hurtful, and both parties kind of feel bad afterwards. Okay. So instead of threats, we have a tool that if you want to learn more about, come back to our Tools of Choice training. In addition to the 2-hour, we have a Relias module training and then a practice workshop where you really practice a lot of these skills. And Set Expectations is one that we teach what to do versus using some of these coercive techniques. You set expectations, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, earn or don't earn. If you choose to clean your room today and pick up your clothes off your floor and put them in the laundry room and do your laundry, then you'll earn an extra 45 minutes of video game. If you choose not to, then you won't earn that extra 45 minutes of video game. It's your choice. So I'm not taking anything away. I'm not threatening, I'm giving them an opportunity to earn, an opportunity to do the right thing, do that desired behavior. Criticism. Man, oh my gosh, Joe, didn't I ask you to sweep the floor? That floor is so dirty. Did you even sweep, Joe? I don't even think you swept. Oh my goodness, it doesn't even look like you did anything. What is going on? Kathy, did you make your bed? Because it didn't look like it. It looks horrible, by the way. Come on, Kathy, what is going on? We talked about this. Kathy and Joe, how do you feel right now? Did that make you feel good? Did I concentrate on the fact that you attempted to make your bed, that you attempted to clean your room? It may not be up to my standards, but you gave it an attempt. Okay? You went in there and you gave it an effort. It's better than it was. May not be perfect on my standards, So our focus is on what? What should I focus on, Kathy or Joe? What should I focus on? Instead of being critical, what do you think? I'm not speaking to you right now. I don't blame you, Joe. I wouldn't speak to me either. I was very mean. I was very critical. It's all right, Joe. Joe, I just appreciate you making the effort to clean your the kitchen floor. It looks so nice. Yeah, keep it up, Joe, because you're doing a great job, being responsible and taking care and pride in your own home. Way to go, buddy. Is that a little better? Joe, are you speaking to me now? All right, despair. You say and act as if you don't know what to do. Man, Christine, I take you to get a soda all the time, and I'm always nice to you. So I don't understand why you're being so mean to me today. I just don't get it because I do all this stuff for you. Why? So you say and act as if you don't know what to do, are giving up, are hopeless. So you're creating a worsening in that person's life. It's not improving the situation. It's not making that person feel better. You know, um, Joe says I'm good, so that's great. All right, despair. We all do that. I kind of do that sometimes. I got to really watch this one with my adult children. Well, how come you never come and see me? I do all this stuff for you. Doesn't help, doesn't improve the situation. It makes them feel bad, makes me feel bad. Lecture's one of mine. I told you that. I love a free soda, Christine. Okay, lecture. It's like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. Talking about what should be done instead, or talking too much by repetitively saying the same thing over and over and over. They already know what you're going to say. They already know what they're supposed to be doing. So that lecture isn't really improving anything. It's not making things better. It's not teaching them anything. In fact, they might be looking right at you, shaking their head, but they're gone. They're somewhere else. They're in outer space, and they're not paying attention because you've said the same thing 20 times. Okay. So it's kind of ineffective. So Christine, I made this mistake with your older kids. One day, my oldest was like, I know, Mom. I love it. I know. Yes, but we do it, Christine. Oh my gosh. So all we can do is make a plan to prevent the multiple times we do these things and try and minimize the times we do, try and make a plan to prevent. And again, doing more of the teaching of the skills and modeling those things and using set expectations that I keep referring to. Taking away, we've all done this one. We've taken away possessions, privileges, phone usage to try and change behavior. Okay, we've all done it and we'll probably do it again. But instead, use that earn or don't earn. Again, if you choose to do this, then you will earn this. If you choose not to, then you won't earn this privilege. Okay, but I'm not taking anything away. I'm having that person earn that. Okay, there's a big difference between earn and don't earn and taking things away. I'm not taking that phone away. I'm having them earn it if they choose to do the things that's going to help them in life. Learn those responsible actions, learn those respectful behaviors. Talking about a person's bad behavior when the person's present. That's a big one, guys. Oh my goodness. I remember doing this when my husband came home and oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what Justin did today. Oh, he was horrible. Justin was sitting right there. He's my son. And it really affected my relationship with Justin, and it just didn't turn out well. Okay. So we got to really watch this one and do everything we can to avoid talking about the person in front of others because it does help hurt their self-esteem. It affects our relationship with that person, and it just produces a very poor outcome. Okay, so we're going to have to kind of move on because I just realized the time, but we got a lot to do. The effects of coercion, guys. You just did that, Ricky? Well, so do I. I mean, I've done it. Again, I just have to really make an effort not to and minimize those opportunities. But what are the effects, guys? What are the effects of coercion? Joe, what was the effect of the coercion I used on you a while ago? Did you want to get even with me? Did you want to avoid me or escape contact with me? Probably so. Okay. So And oftentimes, those around us, when we're highly coercive towards them, they learn that coercive behavior from us and they start to demonstrate it with others. Oftentimes, too, if we're highly critical of everything they do, we do a lot of threatening, a lot of lecturing, they behave less confidently and they give up on themselves. Their self-esteem is affected. They almost don't want to try because they know that no matter what they do, it's not good enough. So they give up. They behave less confidently. Some people also receive all kinds of attention. And so they start doing it even more, all these coercive things, to get attention from us, So that junk behavior, it increases because at least they're getting some sort of attention from those that they love and want to notice them. All right. So all of these things can have an effect on us, when we demonstrate coercion towards others. So when are we more likely to be coercive? I want to hear from you guys. When are you more likely to be coercive? What do you guys think? Mine is, I've already told you mine, when I encounter one of my pet peeves, oh my goodness, I tend to be more coercive. Burping at the table. Yeah, when you're frustrated, Joe, absolutely. When you're frustrated, when you're overwhelmed, Shandy, yes, being tired, absolutely. When you're not feeling well, when you're sick, when somebody's just been coercive towards you, when you've had a bad day at work, when you want to stop behavior in a child and you're tired, Christine, absolutely, absolutely. We worked hard all day. We come home and the child's supposed to be doing their homework or they're supposed to take the trash out and they didn't. That's when that lecture comes in, right? That's when that threatening comes in, is when we're tired, we've had a hard day. So that's when in the car, because you probably know it's going to happen, we got to make a plan to prevent it. Use that set expectations tool, Christine, and hopefully it's going to have a better payoff for you. Okay. But we got to make a plan. We got to know what we're going to do. So coercion, it works temporarily. It does. It may stop that behavior temporarily, but it follows long-term problems. Okay. People learn coercive measures from us. So it just continuum, they're going to continue to do it with their children, with their grandchildren. It's going to continue to affect their relationships with those that they're around. All right. So it might work temporarily, but it's going to affect their relationships down the road. Okay. So if not coercion, what do we do? Well, I keep mentioning it. What do I do, guys? What are some things that I'm going to do besides what's on this list? Give me a couple real quick. What am I going to do? I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to think about what caused the behavior. I'm going to take a deep breath, like Christine said, right? Think about the payoff of the person. Why did they demonstrate this? Is there a desirable behavior that I can teach and reinforce instead? What do I need to change? How do I need to change my reaction to that junk behavior? What do I need to do differently? What else can I do? Okay, so all of these things, be patient, be kind, take deep breaths, change your focus. All of those things is what I need to do. Okay, all right. So moving on, steps to building a relationship. Okay, so what does it mean to build a relationship with another person? It's just about spending quality time with an individual, showing interest in that person, showing that you're interested. What's important to them is important to you. You value them, you respect them, and you want to be around them. Think about your favorite person in your world. You know, how did this relationship, how did they become your favorite person? What did they do in order for it to be that favorite person? You know, how did they interact with you? Okay. So those are the things that you need to think about when you're thinking about building a healthy, productive relationship with another person. So I'm going to go through these very quickly because of the time. So building a relationship with one person, we want to stop what we're doing. If we're busy doing the dishes or doing whatever, we're going to stop what we're doing and we're going to move towards the person and we're going to remain within arm's reach. So if Joe is in a seated position, I'm going to sit next to Joe and I'm going to kind of move in to show that I'm interested. I'm caring. I want to know more about what's going on in his world, in his life, his goals, his dreams. Okay. Touch, if appropriate, to the situation. You know, I might give a fist bump, a high five, or a touch on the arm. Now, all of these things to build a relationships, the ones in bold, um, um, the move in and touch. If it's a stay close hot situation, I'm going to be careful with moving in and I might be careful with touch because if the person is really upset, it may be something that I do after the person is kind of calmed down. So we'll talk about that here in a minute, okay? And these steps, you may not do them in order. They may go out of order, or you may do some of them several times and others just a few times. All right. So I forgot to mention that just a few minutes ago. Carrying facial expressions, you know, 93% of communication is through our facial expressions, our body language, our tone of voice. So we're going to be caring and kind and interested through our body language. So that's really important. We're going to have a relaxed body, relaxed arms, okay, attentive, looking at the person, using our eye contact, open-ended questions. That requires more than a yes or no response. So it could be, how are you doing today? What do you have planned for the rest of the afternoon? How was your test? How was your job interview? You know, it keeps the conversation moving in a positive direction and it shows you're interested and you're caring. Empathy statements. What's an empathy statement? Hmm? Anybody? Anybody know what an empathy statement is? I hear you. I hear you. Right, Catherine, I hear you. It's kind of unconditional kindness, right? I love empathy. Empathy is about trying to connect to a person's emotion, you know, not agreeing or disagreeing with that emotion, but trying to connect to what they're feeling inside. You know, whether they're happy, they're sad, they're elated, they're excited, or they're angry. You know, recognizing that emotion, connecting to it, and trying to be non-judgmental, but supportive, putting your listening ears on and validating their feelings. Okay. I'm sorry that happened to you. I validate you in your situation. Very good, Christine. Excellent. You seem frustrated. What can I do to help? And you seem so excited. What happened at work today? Tell me more. Okay. So empathy are statements that you use when people are excited, they have good moments and they're sharing those moments with you, or they're sad or they're angry. So it's all emotions. Any kind of emotion you can use empathy with. You see, you look, I can see you are, you know, those are some good empathy statements. What about encouragement? What about encouragement? What are some encouragement statements? Anybody? tying tying whatever the person is doing now to good things in their future. So trying to focus on what the person is doing right now, that's good for them, that's desirable, or something that they've done in the recent past, a desirable action. And saying something to say that, you know, saying an encouragement statement encourages them to continue that desired action in the future that's going to improve their quality of life. So encouragement, you know, um, working hard all week shows great dedication and determination. Keep it up, you know. Um, you know, I love the way you talk to your sister. Yes. Be a little bit more specific, Joe. How did she talk to her sister? What did she do? What did she say to her sister that makes you feel good about that situation? And what do you want her to continue? That's encouragement. So just be a little bit more specific. You know, you were respectful and kind during your conversations with your sister today. Way to go. That's amazing. That shows such respectful, kind attitude, something like that. Listen while the person is you know, listen more, talk less. Try not to react to junk behavior and avoid a coercion. Those are the steps to having a better relationship with other people. Okay. Our golden nuggets of tools is open-ended questions, empathy, and encouragement. Sometimes you use this several times, you know, and it really does improve your relationship with others. And we're going to avoid that coercion, that lecturing, and all those other things that we tend to do. So empathy, again, is being able to take the perspective of another and communicate to that person. So identifying their emotions, you know, connecting to that feeling that they're having, being non-judgmental, listen more, talk less, you know, and you seem, you look, I can tell you are, you know, those are some really good empathy statements. And we've already gone over encouragement, being able to communicate how the person's own behaviors improve their situations, saying something to let the person know that you believe that they can behave or behave again to create an improvement in their life, which is going to improve their quality of life, is what we want. So again, your dedication, your perseverance is really paying off. That A that you made on that test shows great dedication and hard work. I know you can do this again. You've done it before. I believe you can do it again. You know, so believing in them. Also, encouragement is saying, hey, I'm here to help. I'm here for you. I'm always here. I'm available. I'm here to support you in however you need. So let's go ahead and practice. We're going to practice just for a few minutes. So awesome, Alex. Alex just got his GED results back and he passed, guys. Yay! Alex passed. He studied for hours. And you walk down the hall and he rushes over to show you his score. How can you show Alex, you know, I want you to use an open-ended question, an empathy statement, and encouragement. What are some things that we could do? Anybody want to play with me? I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this one. And okay, Christine, high five and way to go. Okay, high five and way to go. I love that touch. I love that way to go. Awesome, awesome. What's an open-ended question you could say? Or an empathy statement? I know you work so hard on that. That is such a great encouragement statement. I know you work so hard on this. You got this, buddy. You can do this again. You've done it. You can do it again. How do you feel about your test? I love that, Joe. How do you feel about your test? You seem really pumped. You know, how do you feel about your test? You seem pretty excited by your facial expressions. You must have rocked it. Okay. All that hard work and dedication has really paid off. Look at how well you've done. Keep it up, Alex. Okay. Any other encouragement that you can provide to him? The empathy is you seem excited. You seem pumped. And encouragement is all that dedication, all that hard work has paid off. Keep it up. You've earned this accomplishment. I love that, Catherine. You earned this accomplishment. Very good, guys. Coworker Carl, you're walking into the break room with your lunch. Carl smiles and says hi to you when he sees you. Carl moves some papers to let you sit down. What's an open-ended question you can say? Hey, Carl, how are you doing? There you go. Very good. How's your day going? What's an empathy statement? Oh, is this seat for me? Thank you so much. Okay, cool, cool. What's an empathy statement? What about you look relieved to be on break? You seem relieved to be on break. You seem relieved. Sometimes you got to kind of add a little bit of context to these role plays to kind of get you there. But encouragement, I don't know. It could be you've been working so hard on that project, you deserve a break, or you've been working so hard on that project. You know that promotion you want your you know that hard work and dedication is really paying off. Um, so something like that. Okay, guys, pivot. We got to move on because we still have a lot to do. Pivot it's something that we're going to use when we encounter that junk behavior that gets under our skin. We're going to use the pivot tool. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly here. So pivot. Again, what is the definition of junk behavior? It's behavior that gets under our skin. It happens a lot. It's age typical. It's functioning level typical. But boy, when we encounter that junk behavior, we often react to it by facial expressions, body language, tone of voice. And so the pivot tool is going to help us not react to that junk behavior and instead focus more on the desired behavior or just okay behavior that we want to see. Okay, so how does the junk behavior pay off for the person? Again, it gives them attention. It acts to comfort them. It gets you to react. It gets you to see you when you're angry or shocked or hurt or afraid. They're wanting some sort of reaction from you to get you to give in, to make you go away. And it's what people do. Okay, so those are the reasons why we do junk behavior. I think I went over those before. And again, guys, often episodes of serious behavior start with junk behavior and they escalate when others react to it. So kind of think about that. We all demonstrate junk behavior, but it's our reaction to it that can create a worsening for that other person. So this is the pivot tool. So instead of reacting to that junk behavior, that burping, that yelling, that complaining, the whining, we're going to make a plan and we're going to use 3 different pivot options. Sometimes you can use all 3 several times before that junk behavior goes away. Sometimes it only takes 1 pivot and it goes away, but it kind of depends on the situation, the person, and how frequently that junk behavior has been happening in their world. So the 3 pivot options that I'm going to talk about is suddenly pivot to another person, actively to pivot to another person, actively attend to another person, or pivot on an activity that you're doing, I'm doing, not what the person is doing that's demonstrating the junk behavior, an activity that you're involved in or that you could pivot to. Pivot on on the person that's demonstrating the junk. So if Christine is demonstrating junk behavior, I'm just going to continue that conversation with Christine as if that yelling is not occurring. I'm just going to continue to have that positive conversation and not focus on that yelling. I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to continue talking to her. Okay. So unless you use pivot on the person, what we want you to think about doing here is after the junk behavior has stopped for 10 consecutive seconds, then we're going to pivot back. Think of basketball. We're going to pivot back And we're going to pivot towards that person and we're going to focus on that person's just okay or desirable behavior. Okay. And we're going to say something reinforcing to them if we can think of anything. All right. So I'm gonna practice with you here and see what you think. Okay. So Johnny is washing dishes right now. Okay. So I'm going to pivot on another person. So Johnny's washing dishes and I'm helping Johnny dry the dishes. And Johnny starts in and he starts to complain. Man, I hate these freaking dishes. They're so freaking stupid. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. So we were having a conversation before that junk happened. Now I'm going to kind of pivot away. And Sally just walked in the room. Sally is somebody that also lives in this home. Sally walks in, and I'm just going to have a brief conversation with Sally while Johnny over here's, demonstrating junk. Hey, Sally, how's it going? What are you up to today? And we have a conversation. Within about 10 seconds after Johnny stops the junk or it becomes more minimal, I'm going to pivot back and I'm going to continue to have a conversation with Johnny as if the junk didn't even happen. I'm not going to say, Johnny, I'm glad you're not whining. I'm going to say, hey, Johnny, great job doing those dishes. That's so responsible. They're looking great. Okay. So that's one way to pivot. Pivoting on another person, making it realistic, so that helps me not focus on his junk behavior by I'm not saying anything about it, but I'm reinforcing the desired behavior that I want to see more out of Johnny. On an activity, Johnny starts whining, and we were having a conversation. I'm going to stop that conversation. I'm not ignoring Johnny, okay? But I'm not really talking to him at that moment too much. I'm pivoting onto an activity, which is doing clean or, not cleaning the dishes, but putting the dishes away, drying them. So I'm focusing on drying the dishes and putting them in the cabinet. That junk behavior stops. I'm going to pivot back and I'm going to continue to talk about Johnny, whatever we were talking about before the junk started. And I might even say again, Johnny, wow, man, you're doing an amazing job with those dishes, buddy. Look at those. Your responsible actions is really paying off. It's really helping you with your goal of becoming more independent. Okay. Same thing. Pivot on the person. I don't have to wait that 10 seconds. I'm just going to continue to talk to Johnny as if the junk's not happening. So I'm not saying anything about the junk. I'm not saying, hey, Johnny, quit your whining. Why do you always whine? I'm focusing on the fact that he's doing the dishes. Wow, man, you know what? You have done the dishes 3 times this week. Way to go, buddy. That's those actions are very responsible and it's helping you with your goal of becoming more independent. Way to go. That's pivot. I'm not focusing on the junk. I'm not saying anything about it. I'm not reacting to it by facial expressions, body language. What I am doing is I'm pivoting back and I'm focusing on the desirable or just okay behavior of the person. That's the behavior we want to spend time on. That's the behavior we want to reinforce. Okay? That's our pivot tool. I went through it really quick. So why not just ignore it? The problems with ignoring is they can be very coercive. They can be reinforcing, a very reinforcing action. They can cause a behavior burst. So that means that the behavior could increase in intensity. So ignoring, I don't know about y'all, but I don't like to be ignored. Ignoring is Johnny starts the junk behavior and I just leave the room and I don't come back. I don't reinforce the fact that he's doing the dishes. I don't reinforce that he's done the dishes 3 days this week. I don't do anything. I just ignore and walk away. I'm not taught him anything. Maybe I taught him, maybe he doesn't want to do the dishes because he doesn't get any kind of reaction from me out of it. So advantages of pivot are they increase desirable or just okay behaviors while weakening undesirable behaviors, and they prevent that behavioral burst. And they also prevent serious behavior, hopefully, because we're not reacting to it. Okay, let's practice really quick. We're just going to practice one on this because of the time. We got annoying Addie. Addie frequently picks her nose. She's telling you about this cool package she just got. You're in the middle of typing an email. So picking of the nose is the junk behavior, okay? So how would I pivot on an activity? So I'm pivoting on an activity typing. So I'm typing. So I had a conversation with Addie. Hey, Addie, how's it going? What are you doing? She starts to pick her nose. So I'm typing. When am I going to stop typing and respond back to Addie? Anybody in chat? I'm typing. What do you think? When am I going to stop typing and pivot back to Addie? 10 seconds, no junk. Absolutely, Joe. I'm typing. She stops picking her nose. I'm going to pivot back and I'm going to start talking to Addie, okay? As if the junk is not even happening. All right. Okay. So, I can tell you're so stoked about those packages, Addie. Hey, what's in that package? Did you get something from your mom today? Something like that. Okay. Didn't say anything about the picking of the nose. Not to say that maybe during calm times later, we can kind of maybe have conversations about, hygiene, using the set expectations tool. Okay. But not now. All right. Real quick, outburst Ollie. He's at the table. Oliver and Sally are working on a project. Oliver is muttering things like, "This is so stupid, I'm going to tear it up." Sally is working while humming her favorite song. So this is pivot on another person. Okay. So when would I pivot on Sally? So I'm when would I pivot? Yeah. When would I pivot on Sally in this situation? Anybody? When the jump from Oliver begins. Excellent, Joe. Absolutely. And when would I pivot back on Oliver? So if Sally is working, so I'm just going to go over, I'm going to, hey, Sally, what are you working on over here? Man, you look like you're doing a great job. Look at you, girl. Look at you go, girl. When Oliver stops muttering and stops saying he's going to tear things up, when he's starting to work on his project, I'm going to pivot back and I'm going to focus on Oliver. Oliver, look at you. Look at that. You're doing an amazing job. You've already completed half of that project. Way to go. It's looking amazing. You're doing an outstanding job. Keep it up, buddy. Okay. I'm not focusing on the junk at all. All right. Stay close hot. Stay close hot has many of the same steps as stay close random routine and cool. The portion that is different than the stay close random routine or the stay close random routine and cool and that we talked about earlier are direct to alternative behaviors, use reinforcement after de-escalation. Okay, so those are some things that are a little bit different from the last ones. And if you notice, during stay close hot, this is a worsening for the person. Something bad has happened. They're sad, they're angry, they're frustrated. Something in their world is not going well. So the first thing that we need to do in a stay close hot interaction is we do not want to react with junk. Stop yelling, stop cursing, stop slamming the door. We don't want to say anything about the junk. Okay. Now, number 2, usually move to the person and remain within arm's length. You got to know your person and you have to know the context. So moving in, you may need to ask permission. If it's a sad moment, the person is really sad, moving in can be very comforting. Hey, Sally, would you mind if I move closer and sit next to you? Would you like to talk about what's upsetting you? If the person is highly angry, you might want to wait until the person is kind of calm a little bit before you move in, and always ask. Okay. Touch is another one. Touch may come later. If somebody's really angry, touch after the person is kind of de-escalated and they're calmer, touch can be very calming. But when somebody's heightened and highly angry, touch may actually increase the opportunity of that crisis cycle increasing. So you got to kind of have to know your person, the situation. Ask open-ended questions. Man, Sally, you seem, what happened? You seem very upset. Listen more, talk less. Use those empathy statements. Man, Sally, you seem angry. What can I do to help? Encouragement. I don't even know what to say, but I just appreciate you coming to me, you sharing your feelings, you talking to me. Thank you for that. I appreciate you opening up and talking about your feelings. Because maybe in the past she didn't talk, she used aggression, but today she's talking, and you want to encourage that behavior to continue. You're going to repeat as much as you can until Sally is ready for the next step. So you might use open-ended questions, empathy, encouragement many, many times before you're ready for the next step. The next step, after you see that person start to de-escalate, their voice is calmer, they seem more relaxed, then you can direct to an alternative behavior or calming situations or problem solving. Problem solving may come the next day. And you have to teach those self-management skills. You can't just say, hey, would it be helpful to practice deep breathing when they've never even learned how to deep breathe? So you got to teach those skills ahead if you want to try and use them with the person. So, Sally, it's a pretty day. What do you think about taking a walk? That seemed to help you yesterday. You want to try it today? That might be helpful. Reinforce the desired action. I know it's not easy, but thank you for talking to me. Thank you for going for a walk to me. Thank you for being there and walking away from a difficult situation. It wasn't easy. Stay close hot. Again, empathy is being able to take the perspective of another and communicate to that person. So we're going to do one practice before the end of today. It's almost 3 o'clock. Sam had a very sad phone call. He just got into an argument with his roommate. She frequently lays in bed for hours crying when she's upset. She's been in bed crying and texts you about the fight. I'm so over this. I'm not going to take this crap anymore. I'm so over it. What kind of a open-ended question, empathy, and encouragement statement can we use here? What do you guys think? Anybody? What empathy statement? Okay. Are you safe? Have you been hurt? Okay. Have you been hurt? Okay. All right. So Christine, Sam, what happened? Would you like to talk to me about what happened? You know, um, I understand that you're sad about the argument. Absolutely. Man, it sounds like it's really a difficult situation. What do you need? I love that. Sounds like a difficult situation. Empathy. What do you need? What can I do to support you right now? I love that, Catherine. I love it, love it, love it. That's absolutely wonderful empathy. You guys are doing amazing. You guys have got this. Yes. You seem very frustrated. What can I do to support you right now? Okay. Um, it's not about magic words. Again, empathy is about being present, being in the moment with that person with unconditional kindness, not agreeing or disagreeing, but listening, talk less, and being present. Okay. Encouragement. What can I say to encourage Sam to continue? What is Sam doing that's good? What is Sam doing that is a desirable behavior? What did he do that's desirable? That's the behavior we want to encourage. You know what he did? He took some time away for himself. She reached out and she texted. She reached out to someone to talk with. And before she kept it in, and maybe she was self-injurious to herself, but today she reached out and she's sharing her emotions. Is that a behavior you want her to continue? Absolutely. I know it wasn't easy picking up the phone and calling me, but you did it. You took some time to yourself, you got your thoughts in order, and you made a safe decision by calling me and sharing your feelings. That's not easy to do, but you did it. And I know you can do it again. Okay. Because this isn't easy for her, but she did it. Okay. So, guys, it is 3 o'clock. You guys did an amazing, amazing job. I appreciate you all being here. And thank you guys so much. I do talk a lot. Getting through this is hard for me in 2 hours. So I appreciate you hanging in there. Get out your phone again. This is an excellent podcast. It's on 10 common coercions. It goes into the different types that we just kind of briefly went over today in much more detail. Lucas Evans, I believe, created this podcast. He did an amazing job. Awesome, awesome training if you haven't watched it yet. I do encourage you guys to attend a full Tools of Choice course. It's much more lengthier. You have your Relias trainings, and then you have the practice workshops that you can attend. That's very highly beneficial because that allows us to practice those skills to become more competent, because these are hard skills. Avoiding reacting with coercion is hard, and it takes time and practice. We also have a wonderful family coaching workshop opportunity for our families out there. It's in the evenings. I think Karen McCarthy is here with us today. She is one of our family coaching workshop presenters. She does an absolutely fabulous job. I encourage you to attend those. And with that said, I believe we're done for the day. I thank you. Thank you so much for being with me. And thank you for letting me pick on some of you today through chat. I appreciate it. And have a wonderful afternoon.